what's up? What's going on? It's Victoria from the Feel Your Feelings podcast. Welcome back. And Happy New Year if it's your first time watching it right now. I'm doing something a little bit different, and I'm kicking off the new year with an interview, guys. Like we're taking action, okay? So I am sitting here today with James Ellifritz, and correct me if I'm saying
You're all
anything
good.
wrong.
That's perfect.
He's a fellow podcaster, and he also has he's a co-host of a podcast called Varsity Isle. And hello, James. Welcome to the Feel Your Feelings podcast.
Hey, Victoria, how you doing?
How are you feeling?
I'm great. For a Monday, I'm great.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel you. I'm feeling good. You know, it is a Monday right now, but I'm trying to keep the energy high and positive. So we're blessed. We're blessed. Happy New Year to
Absolutely.
you.
You too. Happy New Year.
So where are you based currently?
I live currently in Massillon, Ohio. So for those that are sports fans, I live about 10 minutes from the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I work about 30 minutes north in Wadsworth, Ohio, as
Okay.
an operations manager for a graphics company.
Okay.
So I'm based about an hour south of Cleveland, Ohio.
Great. I'm only familiar with Cleveland, Akron, and Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Sorry. But yeah, so let's talk about how do we know each other. So I can mention it, or you can dive right into it, but we are a part of a group.
Yeah, we've been like friends since way back to like long time.
This has been
Yeah, it was like, oh man, like what, 2 weeks ago?
right? Three
Yeah,
weeks
so
ago.
yeah. And
Right.
so we're both community members for an online community called the Unsealed with Lauren Brill.
Shout out Lauren. Shout out to
Yep,
Lauren.
what's up, Lauren? I've been with the Unsealed since November of 2020. What attracted me to the community was the ability to join meetings like this, but also use creative writing as well. Tell your stories, tell your life stories, and share them with other people um, that have the different backgrounds or similar backgrounds. And what you really find out is that it kind of makes the world a little bit smaller when you start understanding what somebody else is going through, and say, hey, you know what, that sounds real familiar. Or other things like, wow, I can't even imagine, depending on where somebody's come from. So it's both ends of the perspective on that. And to me, it's enlightening because it's definitely good to look outside of your just given day and what your surroundings are and see how everybody else is out there and what they're going through and what they're surviving through, what they're living through, what they're enjoying, what they're struggling with. So to me, it's just about being engaged with community through the Unsealed, but it does reflect how I am also in my own personal life.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if you know this about me, James, but I had a blog that I started prior to my podcast. Lost all that content on it, by the way, which is a separate story, but I'm currently working on rebuilding it. But I started that blog back in grad school to get better at writing, just like creative writing, because in grad school, obviously you have to write a lot of papers, sometimes papers that are boring or that you don't like. So I figured if I start my own blog, then I can start get comfortable with writing and write about things that I'm like passionate about. So when I saw that opportunity to join the Unsealed, because I kind of had been writing on and off, I kind of saw it as an opportunity to write about things that seemed really cool and interesting. And seeing Lauren's version of how she put all these letters together on her website was super inspirational. So that's one thing that I took away from the community. So shout out to the Unsealed. And if you're interested in tuning in, listener, she hosts webinars, Monday night webinars, writing workshops that you should attend because they're very fascinating and eye-opening. And she's very engaging. So
yes, very engaging, very genuine, very responsive to your questions. She just customer service is fantastic, you know,
Totally.
and you don't feel like a customer. You just feel like another person, a part
Teammate.
of a special, yeah, part of a special group.
Exactly.
It really has helped me to want to get in front of a camera, if I want to speak on a mic, you know, and tell my stories to people that I just met, right?
Yeah.
So, but no, I thoroughly enjoy it, and I highly suggest anybody that's listening, check us out. Come to one meeting, typically a Wednesday or Thursday night. Come join the conversation, and it's a live interactive Q&A with guests, and sometimes a round
Yeah.
table type thing too. So
yeah, you won't regret it, and I'll put the link down below if anyone is interested in checking it out. So how did you get into podcasting? I know you have a podcast called the Varsity Isle, which you co-host, and fun
yeah,
fact, I've read that it's named after a local hangout that
and
you
yes,
co-host.
it's a former hangout of a small town that I grew up with. My one of my best friends, Tim Beck, is co-host.
Okay.
So we talked about doing podcasting for a while on and off, but our generation, we're Gen X, so we go back a ways, you know, from doing recordings on freaking cassette tapes, for crying out loud. And you know, we would do
I remember those. I remember cassette tapes.
yeah,
Yeah.
they still do
Still have,
exist.
yeah, I still have a few
Typically
copies of
at
my old movies.
oh,
Yeah.
I was thinking like garage sales, thrift stores.
Yeah.
There's
Oh
still
yeah,
a
you can
few
find a
floating
lot.
around. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we just enjoyed doing that. We grew up like Saturday Night Live guys. We loved the skits that were on there, loved the phony commercials, coming up with creative ideas to, you know, display your sense of humor. But a lot of it too is that my background working in mental health for about 10 years,
Yeah.
and Tim's background working with youth also in his church, and grew up son of a pastor. So
Okay.
having those ties, and we all know about what church is, right? It's about, you know, going and once again, community, right? So it's community, it's people there because we're all broken people. We struggle
Mm-hmm.
at different things, and there's other things we can help people with that we don't struggle with. So where they are weak and we are strong, we are there to support.
Yeah.
So our podcast, that's what we want to do for people too, is to entertain, to make people laugh, to enjoy looking back on things from when we grew up, but also to have current day conversations with current topics, and just reach people in a positive manner, because to me that's so important. That's my purpose in life. That's why I want to be here. That's why I want to be a part of this. Because I believe through podcasting, there's such a viewership out there and a following out there that maybe something that once was said years ago didn't have the ears that it does now, but maybe I can really help make a difference in somebody else's life on a grander scale. So
That's amazing. And I'm so glad to hear that as a fellow podcaster, that's also a similar goal of mine. So
mhm.
who are some of your favorite athletes? I'm looking behind you and I see LeBron James and Kyrie
Yep.
Irving.
Yep. So I'm set up in the corner of my cave of champions down here. Right now, currently basketball season's in play, so I have all my Cavaliers stuff out. And we were talking earlier about the cities in Ohio that you know.
Right.
LeBron did his job of putting Akron on the map, and gaining some respect in the city of Cleveland as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, thankfully, in this room, actually, when LeBron, which to answer your question, yes, he's one of my favorite athletes of all time. His story for me is something, and I'm actually getting chills about it now. For him to come back and win a championship in the city of Cleveland, it just means the world to me. I watched him play in high school, locally. Go to see him play in high school.
Okay.
I was up at the arena the night he got drafted. I went to his first pro game up for the Cavs. Um, and he's did so much for the community, even since he's moved away. After the championship, with the LeBron James Family Foundation and opening a school here, and helping you know, underprivileged kids and families to help get routed to University of Akron and Kent State University. So they have that better fighting chance of being able to get a college degree. That stuff that it goes, I mean, a championship is forever, but changing people's lives for the better. I mean, he didn't have to do that, but he's just like how he plays the game of basketball, which is unselfish. He did the same thing with that in his personal life, and the community around here has benefited from that time and time again. So thankful for him and what he's did in this area, and just how I feel from being here, just kind of validated us, all of us, that we were the punchline of a lot of jokes around the
Yeah.
country.
Oh yeah.
And
Whew.
yes, I'm a Browns fan, and we suffer as Browns fans too. But
Yeah, I was gonna ask
oh
about
my
football.
goodness,
Do you have any like football teams that you're big fan of?
Cleveland Browns.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they're the ones that make us suffer the most. But our Cavaliers are doing pretty good
Right.
with Spider Mitchell. So Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, so we got some, and then of course the Guardians podcast that I'm doing, our Cleveland's Guardians baseball team. So to
Yeah.
me, I'm down here in the man cave. I do decorate for the seasons. I will switch everything out, whether it's baseball, football, basketball. If I didn't like spending the time doing it, I wouldn't do it. I enjoy it. I love to have people down here spending some time watching some games and just getting to hang out and enjoy each other's company.
I love that. I may not seem like it on the outside, but I'm a big sports fan, actually.
Okay.
Growing up, when I was a kid, if you had asked me what I want to be at 8, I would have said a professional tennis player, because my favorite players at the time were Venus and Serena, and
Yes.
then more so Serena as I got older. So I played tennis junior varsity/varsity in high school. Our JV team was pretty bad, so they ended up just lumping us into varsity because we needed more people in varsity.
Right.
Great memories, but I was not a solid player. I will admit that I didn't have the skill set. But I loved tennis growing up. And I just love the mental aspect of playing the game. But I will say, like, favorite teams for me: football, Broncos; basketball, I like LeBron. I won't say I have teams, I have favorite players. So I like LeBron.
And that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. It's safe. Safe
Yeah.
answer.
And as far as tennis goes, I thoroughly enjoy watching all the major tournaments.
Not only tennis, soccer, football,
I'm not as
basketball.
big a soccer fan. It's hard for me to, I don't know if I can't just sit still
Yeah.
long enough or what, but I could watch a 0-0 important baseball game. But when it comes to soccer, I don't know. Maybe and there's more movement, and there's more going on than the 0-0 baseball game.
Yeah.
Throughout the game. I don't know what it is. It's just not been in this area a very important. There was an indoor team years ago in Canton, and then also in Cleveland, that were pretty popular. But the outdoor game, we got a Columbus Crews down in Columbus, Ohio, but never really picked up on it. But tennis, I love tennis. I love that you played tennis. That's great. I introduced my daughters to it. I do have 3 daughters.
Oh, awesome. They play tennis?
I introduced them when they were younger. So it was basically kind of just go to little YMCA camps.
Yeah.
The local indoor facility, and work on the lobs and the serves. And so it was, I just wanted to introduce them to all kinds of stuff, and it never stuck, unfortunately. But like I said, I love to watch I can't wait for the Australian Open, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm excited for that.
The cardio aspect of tennis was a little bit too much for me because they had us running all the time. And for me, I just thought it was too physically exhausting. I was like, I can't run every single day. Like, it just wasn't.
So does that mean you were more a singles player than a doubles?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. But I would make excuses to get out of running. I went to tennis camp one summer in high school, and it was just a lot of cardio. That's all I remember. I barely remember playing. It was just like run a mile and back. I'm like, oh, no. So speaking of, sports figures that we admire and everything, how influential are sports figures on youth mental health, and how influential was it on you growing up?
As far as the first part with youth mental health, you and we got to know each other a little bit already. My background, I worked for 10 years in juvenile residential treatment facilities.
Hmm.
So there was a lot of young men that I worked with that, were looking up to athletes or musicians or,
Yeah.
celebrities, etc. Um, but I would say for them, it gave them somebody that mirror after, right? Because
Right.
if you have great family and you have great parents or aunts and uncles or whoever you're close to, you're as a youth, you're looking up to somebody somehow, some way,
Yep.
whether you want to admit it or not. And as from an athlete standpoint, it could be like, I want to be in shape like that person, or I want to make the kind of money they're making, because they show so much now of athletes getting out of the car and, how they're dressed before a game. It's like, I'd like to wear those, right?
The
So,
sponsorship deals, Nike,
yeah,
Subway commercials, like it
yeah,
seems kind of glamorous too.
yeah, because LeBron's making more money off the court than he is on the court with the
Yeah.
NBA, right? Because it took a while. I don't even know. Actually, I don't even know right now if he is, but he wasn't the highest paid player even on his team for a long time,
Hmm.
if ever. It's hard to believe, but it's true. He made so much money through endorsements, with unbelievable marketing, um, and great basketball skills that, he didn't have to worry about that. But as far as kids with that, like back then when I'd be working with them, it's like, I want you to have somebody to look up to and those dreams and those hopes to do something, to make something of yourself. But you also got to bank on education too, right?
Yeah.
Because some of the kids that I'd be working with, it's like, if it was LeBron, it's like, you're probably not going to grow up to be 6'8", right? Or 6'6".
Oh
You
yeah,
just don't
that
know.
genetic part.
So I don't want to be the guy that tells you no, but I am going to be the guy that tells you to be prepared for plan B and C.
Yeah.
Right. So because everybody needs somebody to look up to and to want to maybe mirror their image from. And but I would say, athletes do play an important role. Charles Barkley years ago said, "I'm not a role model," and it was in a
Yeah.
Nike commercial. But and now and that's back before social media, right? And that was back before every game was even on TV, NBA games. But now to me, it's more important than ever. But it also is important that wherever that young person is living, that it's not just celebrities, it's not just athletes. They need real people, that work in their community, that live in their community, or they go to church with, their teachers, that, to look up to, that they can see and go talk to in person too. So to me,
Yeah.
it's very important to have a mix of that.
Yeah. So who were some of the athletes that you looked up to growing up or that had an impact on your mental health growing up?
From a mental health standpoint, wow, that's a great question, because
I'm thinking about it myself.
honestly, I don't think it was, when I was looking at athletes, it was more about, can I do that on the field?
Mm,
Can I hit a home run like Mark McGuire, Dale Murphy, Jim Thome, Manny Ramirez, some of these Major League Baseball players. Can I run the bases like a Kenny Lofton? I was never that fast. I was, but I had to be smart about it. But from like a mental health standpoint, I don't know. Like, I can remember a story from Work Done. So Work Done played at Florida State University, which is my favorite collegiate football program. And Work Done is probably one of the most respected players to play there, under Coach Bobby Bowden, who has passed away a few years ago. But when Warwick played there, he had when he was younger, and I wish I remember, I could tell you all the details right now, but his mom was a police officer, and I think it was in Louisiana, and she was off duty, I believe. But anyway, she got killed got shot and killed during like a robbery, I think it was, at this
so
little
sad.
convenience store or whatever. So if you fast forward to what's Warwick turned a negative into a positive, he has built many homes for single moms that to kind of replace what he couldn't do for his own mom. So yeah, I wish I had more details on that. I apologize if I misspoke on anything, but Ward
Not
Dunn
at all.
is one of those guys that like just does special things that I truly appreciate seeing him do. And I talked a little bit about LeBron, but that wasn't when I was growing up,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um,
I think you already know the Williams sisters had a big impact on my mental health
yeah,
as a kid. Just seeing
yeah.
them
Coming out of
two
Compton, California,
Black
just
sisters,
absolutely.
in a predominantly non-Black sport, playing at a very high level and intense level. I didn't really understand those dynamics as a kid. I just saw them because they looked like me and they played good and they seemed really powerful. So
And they
that was
took
my
it
biggest influence.
and they took it next level. So there
Exactly.
there was a Black female tennis player before them, Zena Garrison, that
Yeah.
I
The
remember her
tennis
playing.
academy that I played at was called the Xena Garrison
Nice.
Tennis. Was
Yeah.
it? Was it? Yeah, it was. It was called the
So
Xena
she's
in
probably the
Houston.
one that I can remember before Venus
Yeah.
and Serena came up that was considered a top talent
Yeah.
within the WTA.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and to me that's all important, right?
Yeah.
Because that look what it did for you. Look how it changed like the perspective of what you could be.
Yeah.
So you're talking mental health right there. It's not necessarily a lot of people think mental health is just always depression, maybe anxiety, things like that.
This negative
But
part. Yeah.
sometimes, yeah, it's just looking for hope, signs of hope.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear that nowadays, even outside of sports, even now more with television
Yeah.
and movies, seeing African Americans playing in certain roles, or
Yeah.
other minorities that are playing certain roles in movies that you didn't see before. And it's great that anybody can see that and see that, hey, I can do that. I can be the lead in Hamilton.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know
That's
what I
right.
mean?
Yeah. That's
And
right.
that to me it's great because I didn't grow up, that way to see any like color like that.
Yeah.
I
The Little
grew up
Mermaid too. The Little
yes.
Mermaid. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's awesome. The new, representation is awesome. And not to cut you off or anything, but
No,
going
you're
to
good.
like the athletic figures, we were talking earlier about Naomi Osaka and Damar Hamlin. And I feel like today, as in like in recent sports history, we can't really talk about sports without talking about Damar Hamlin. What we could talk about Damar first and then Naomi, but what are your thoughts on like these figures, these young athletes, their names now going viral for reasons that are not necessarily good? For instance, with Damar Hamlin, 24 years old, he collapsed during a Buffalo Bills football game with the Cincinnati Bengals recently, and he actually he got released from the hospital from a news article that I read recently.
All
So
right.
that's amazing. Thank God.
Yes.
What were some of your thoughts going through your head when you heard about that news, and what do you think the impact of his situation has been since that that
Well, here's a young man that's just out there trying to make a play, like everybody else in the NFL a week ago, almost to the hour right now.
Yeah.
And it was such a freakish play, the way he got hit in the chest when he's trying to make a play. And there was, zero intent for any of that to happen,
Right.
for him to have his heart issue and for them to have to do CPR on the field. And it's amazing that, the good Lord picked him to be put in this situation. It's like, why? Like, why him? And now he's received all of this positive attention. Like everybody was super concerned at the beginning of last week, right? Even towards into the end of the week, until we seen that the breathing tube came out and he was being responsive and being able to write and ask who won the game. Ain't that crazy?
Yeah.
Everybody's worried about him living and he wants to know who won the game.
This whole week and last week it's been the topic of running conversation in my family. Is like, how's Damar doing? I wonder how he's doing.
So Victoria, what I can share is that I got to share a little bit on the Unsealed last week was my father went through a heart attack. We had worked together
Yeah.
before, and I had
Sorry to hear
to
that.
administer, and this was, thank you, and this wasn't his first one, and he had already had quadruple bypass, but he was in his mid-60s,
Mhm.
and I had to do CPR right there at work on the concrete floor as I'm got 911 on the speakerphone
Hmm.
waiting for the EMS to show up. So I want to give you the short version that the EMS came. It took about 10, 15 minutes, but they got a pulse, rushed him off in the ambulance, and then that night they were putting him into a medically induced coma.
Hmm.
So I was up last Monday till about 2 o'clock in the morning, like everybody else, trying to find out information. How's he doing? Is he going to be okay? But when I heard that, that's when I first knew that I can like go to sleep now. Like I can relax a little bit, because I remember they did that with my dad, and he was out from like a Monday to the Saturday. And my dad was mid 60s and already survived a couple heart attacks. DeMar, early 20s, an athlete with a young, heart that,
Yeah.
you know, was fine until that impact on that hit.
Younger than me. I'm
Yeah.
25. He's
Yeah.
24. Yeah.
And so like I was like, man, this young man has a great chance to survive this, because I've seen this walk before from my father. Yeah, my father ain't no NFL athlete, but he survived it. I'm like, this young man can do it too.
That's
And I'm
right.
like just waiting to hear some, that I knew they were going to do that, not the neurological testing, to make sure they cooled the body, to make sure that the blood flow and everything was, and the oxygen that was potentially lost to his brain
Yeah.
was there. So they removed that, and they brought him out of the coma and did the testing. They said he was fine. I'm like, this reminded me so much of what happened to my father. We were so blessed and so lucky.
Yeah.
And so I had a little different confidence of faith with him as I heard more and more, or if I didn't hear something on a given day last week, like middle of the week, I'm like, I know what they're doing. They're just waiting. They're going to pick their time. And just, I'm so thankful that this young man's doing good. And I'll tell you what, the story of his fundraiser,
Oh, the Toys for
everybody,
Tots. Yes.
oh, it's a beautiful, beautiful story
Yeah. He
of
wrote
how,
something on his Instagram to the effect of when you lead with love, you get all of that back. So, like,
yes,
the effort that he put into that charity is now coming back to him in the most crazy circumstances, but it's still coming back to him, which is amazing. And I'm
the
so
last,
glad that he gets to live to see
yeah,
his impact.
I would have loved to seen his face when they told him
Oh man, wow.
that
Yeah.
total. Last time I looked, it was like over 7.5 million.
Yeah. That's
And
that's
he he doesn't even make near that.
I know, that's crazy.
And I know it's not for him to live off of, it's for his charity, but
Mm-hmm.
it just goes to show you. And that's what's I think the important message out of this. It's not just it happened to be on a football field, it happened to
Yeah.
be on, a national broadcast, but it showed how much love really is in this world and around the country, and how many people that never knew who he was. If you asked me Monday at this time last week who he was, I wouldn't even be able to name him.
Oh, same.
Right?
Same. Same. Me too.
Isn't that amazing
Yeah.
that here's a story of, dealing with tragedy, going through this survival, and coming out now on the other side. And I can't wait. What I'm excited for is to see him maybe, I don't know, do a coin toss or something for one of the playoff games in Buffalo. That would be a special thing if they let him
I
do
was
that.
I was just curious and thinking, I'll try to keep it brief and everything, but like what effect do you think this will have on the NFL and with tennis on what tennis is called, the Tennis Association?
The
I forgot what the
ATP.
ATP. What effect do you think these athletes their health is going to have on these organizations going forward?
I think as far as Naomi, it's out there now. Her struggles with mental health. I feel bad for what she's had to deal with and the way it came out. Some
Me
of the
too.
stuff that happened. Remember when she was playing Serena at the U.S. Open,
Yeah,
and there was some booing and stuff
bullying.
going on, and it just
Hmm.
affected her. Here she is playing somebody that she looked up to,
Yeah.
and now, yeah, it was definitely a negative situation for her. And I want to see somebody that was blessed with this God-given talent to be able to get out there and play at the level that she was at, but also feel good about herself. Because if she was in a great place, it would have never got this far, right? So in other words, she was doing a great job of, I think, masking some of the things that she was trying to overcome um, mentally. You know, I don't know if her heart's in the game right now. I don't think it's there, and that's why, remember, she did take a step away from the game for a short time. And you know what? Damn right she should.
As she should. I
If
was just thinking that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
if she doesn't, if you're not enjoying it,
Mm,
then why are you doing that?
that's right.
And if it becomes about money, then man, I feel bad, right?
Totally. And can I mention something kind of strange? But when I was in tennis camp, I remember meeting a lot of older tennis professors, not tennis instructors, actually. And I met this one tennis instructor who I was feeling very tired after a practice. And I remember I was talking to him, and he was just saying, like, I am Victoria Makajuola. Like, I am. And I was like, what do you mean by that? Like, and I see a lot of commercials nowadays where it's like, I am LeBron James, I am Steph Curry, I am Naomi Osaka. And it's like,
Mhm,
I see what they mean now, because it's like we are them. They are us.
mhm.
She's just a regular 25-year-old just like me. She just happens
Yeah,
to be more famous, more skilled at what she does, but like we're going through the same thing.
yeah.
So I don't know if that really makes sense or if that's a good analogy, but it's like
No, it makes a lot of sense,
it gives
because
them transparency.
there are things that are missing out of people's lives that, but cognitively, the way we think and the way we process, there's a lot of similarities. So what struggles for one can struggle for the other.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely need to have empathy for each other, and definitely support anyone that is coming out. Ben Simmons came out, with mental health issues and got beat up pretty bad off the
Mm,
court.
I know that.
Verbally, when he left Philadelphia and was not
Yeah.
playing for the Sixers, and now he's with Brooklyn Nets. But and he struggles with his jump shot, so people make fun of him on that. So here's a guy that's finally capitalizing on his 6'10" height and can make a lot of money, but people were making it miserable for him. I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but I remember, I'm sure your parents didn't show up and not root you on or boo you at your
Mm-mm.
tennis events.
Oh
No,
no, I was terrible, but they stayed and
right,
they watched.
right,
They were they were supportive, and that meant the world.
right. And I think we need to be more supportive of people. Like
Yeah.
that you see at a high school football game when people are pulling for their kids, right? And we need to have that mentality. And I say this hypocritically, right? Because I've booted a game before, pro game or college game. I have, but I've also learned to get smarter about that, man. It, their parents could be sitting a couple sections over, and you say
That's
something
right.
nice. And it's just, you know,
That's
uh,
right. We got to
yeah,
watch what we say. Totally.
right.
So before Zoom kicks us off, because it's saying we have a little timer up there. So
Hmm.
I hate to rush you off, but this has been a
That's all right.
fantastic conversation. And thank you so much for joining me, James. My last question for you is, where can my listeners keep up with you? I know you're on Spotify with Varsity Isle, but
Varsity
where
Isle
can they
and the
find you?
Guardians of the CLE podcast were also on Spotify as well.
Guardians of
Apple
the CLE?
Guardians of the CLE. It is through Believe Land Media, also on YouTube. So check out on YouTube. On YouTube for Varsity Isle, it's under Tim Beck, my co-host. Um, but yeah, on Twitter, at the Fritz 330. So yeah, I'm really only about 8 months into this, right? And I have thoroughly enjoyed podcasting. I am living proof that anybody can do it. I would highly recommend get out and do it for the right reasons. Meet some great people like Victoria, meet some great people like Lauren, at the Unsealed. There's so many good people out here. You just got to keep looking. If you're struggling and you're having a hard time finding good people in your life, they're out there. You just got to keep looking.
I love that. What James said, completely agree. If I hadn't been in the Unsealed, I would have never met you, would have never got
Yep.
a chance to talk to you about this very important and timely topic. So Thank you again for joining me. Keep doing what you're doing, and I'm gonna check out some more of your episodes on
All right.
Varsity
And
Isle.
I've been
Saw
checking
some
yours out
topics
too.
on there that I was like, I need to check this out. So thank you so much again for joining me.
No, thank you so much for your time. This has been a great time to spend with you and have this conversation, and I look forward to the next one.